So Elon Musk, after the big, beautiful bill passes, which in the big, beautiful bill, matter of fact, go to Mario Naval's tweet from earlier this morning if you could. Mario posted a tweet about the chart that Vinny texted all of us in the group chat that says, hey, the big, beautiful bill, if you look at it, what it's going to be doing, and it's really going to be benefiting the people at the top, not the people at the bottom. You know, the people at the bottom are going to take a dip. This is a continuation of Trump's bill in 17. It was in the text, Rob, if you want to look it up. And so that's caused a lot of conversations. It's officially at the last place of it. Now, obviously, Musk was not supportive of it. He wasn't happy about it. There's a lot of different questions that are being asked. This is the tweet here that was up there. Trump's tax bill hits low-income Americans, boost the top. New data from Yale Budget Lab shows the bottom 20% loses $560 a year, while the top 20% gains over $6,000. Middle and upper earners see smaller boosts, but the lower earners take the only hit. The gap comes from tax breaks at the top and tax cuts to Medicaid and food aid at the bottom. This is Bloomberg that shows that. You got the top 20%, the upper 20%. You got the middle 20%, lower 20%, and the bottom 20%. Tom, when you see this, the average person reads this and they're like, wait a minute. This bill is to help the rich and it hurts the poor. What do you say to people that say that?
Well, I look at it and I say this. First of all, you're looking at analysis that comes from the Yale Budget Lab. Yeah, this impartial cesspool of liberal thought known as the Yale Budget Lab is coming out with the position. And it's similar. You can take a lot of spin on a lot of these. And I respect Mario Naval. I respect him quite a bit. So, but what I see here is that there's a deception here. And what the deception is you have to remember that the tax cuts are not being cut. So some people, when they present analysis, Pat, they're presenting the tax cuts like as a benefit for wealthy people on the old tax. Now, when I say wealthy people, I'm talking about business owners and two-income households. So they're not going to have, remember the tax cuts are going to expire, Pat, right? But this bill makes the tax cuts continue. So part of the benefit for the so-called wealthy is the continuation of the tax cuts. And then when you get down to the bottom 20%, what also is going on here is the federal government has been covering Medicaid for the states. The states call up the federal government and they say, hey, I'm short of money. Like, oh, California, oh, you know, I had poor water policy and I had wildfires and I had all these costs and I need this money and that money. So people are claiming that there's going to be changes in Medicaid programs and availability. I just think you have to look at it very carefully. And one of my takes is you should don't think of it as wealthy. You should want the business owners and people that are creating jobs and are creating opportunity in the economy. You should want them. And by the way, it's $6,000 a year, which is not a lot. So I saw it on the tax angle. I saw it on this. And I think we have to be careful with headlines, just like with polls. Vinny and I were talking about that the other night, how one poll would say 60% of people, 40% of people don't like this. Wait a minute. Well, that means 60% or a majority did like something. So there's a lot of spin that goes in it.
The question is, when that was launched, this morning I asked Matteo and Vinny a question. We're having breakfast. I said, how much money do you think we spend every year on entitlement programs? And Matteo, I think, said $78 billion. I think you said $34 billion, right? And Rob, if you go on ChatGPT and you type in, this is ChatGPT, how much money do we spend every year on entitlement programs? Look what it says.
Like Federal USA?
Yeah, very basic. Just how much money do we spend every year on entitlement programs? Rob, are you able to do it or it's not?
My computer's locking up. Give me
okay.
1 second.
So when you ask the question, it breaks it down for you. If I go right now, how much money does United States spend on entitlement programs every year? Watch this. This is your money that you're paying, folks, okay? This is how much money that goes to entitlement programs every year. When I pulled it up, it said out of 6.3 trillion, what was it? 3.4 trillion goes to entitlement programs. That's a big amount of money that goes towards entitlement programs. Yeah. Do you want that? Do you not want that? See what it says right there. Okay, federal is $6.9 trillion. Social Security, $1.2 trillion. $900 billion Medicare. $870 billion Medicaid. SNAP and income, $400 billion to SNAP and income support. SNAP is welfare and all the other stuff. Net interest to payment, $663 billion. Summary, $3.8 trillion, including entitlement interest. Entitlement programs alone, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, accounts for $3 trillion or more annually. Here's a challenge with this, folks, they have to be thinking about, which is very complicated to do. I was telling the story earlier this morning, and then I'm going to show you Elon Musk's tweet on this and how Trump reacted just this morning, by the way, not in the friendliest way. I had an old guy that was working with me in the insurance business. His name was Feud. And very nice guy, charming guy, great storyteller. He was in LA, very creative, becomes a very well-known designer for high-end homes, Vinny. Now, I think I was telling you the story briefly earlier. He goes from making $80,000 a year, $100,000 a year to all of a sudden, all the wealthy people in Beverly Hills are calling him to come and design. This is 03, 05, 06, where the market is hot in LA. Everyone's making money. He nets $1.6 million in a year. Never made this kind of money before. You know what he starts doing? He starts giving parents $8,000 a month, $12,000 a month, aunt $8,000 a month, relatives $8,000 a month. He's just paying the money because he thinks this $150 a month, $140 a month is going to be coming forever. And then all of a sudden, 2007 comes around. That $1.6 million goes to $100,000 a year.
So he turned himself into a broke government.
But you know what ends up happening? Every one of his relatives ended up hating him.
Unbelievable, because they felt entitled.
That's exactly the point.
Wait, I can't remember the list, but can you repeat what the 4 stages are when you give money to somebody? Starts with appreciation. I don't remember the other 4, but that's exactly what you're talking about.
And it's funny. I mean, we should bring that back up because we've talked about this before. I'd love to look that up.
But it's his fault, right? But it's his fault.
It's his fault, and this goes back to it's America's fault.
Yep.
The more and more we launch these temporary entitlement programs, all you're doing is delaying to get somebody to hate you in the future. Period. Now watch this. This is Elon Musk. Rob, can you pull up Elon Musk's tweet on the Big Beautiful Bill? The Big Beautiful Bill, Elon Musk says, every member of Congress who campaigned, is this the first one? This is the second one, Rob. Go to the first one. He had 2 tweets, right? There you go. It's obvious with the insane spending of this bill, which increases the debt ceiling by a record of $5 trillion, that we live in a one-party country, the Porky Big Party. Time for a new political party that actually cares about the people. Rob, go a little bit lower to see the comments. That's 26.3 million. So then how can it call you a Freedom Caucus if you vote for a debt slavery bill with the biggest debt ceiling increase in history, right? Alex Jones, it's bad. Andrew Yang, building it now. Keep going a little bit lower, keep going a little bit lower. Okay, can we make Elon president? No, we can't. So go, and it just kind of Grok answers the question. Then go to his next tweet, what he says after that. Every member of Congress who campaigned on reducing government spending and then immediately voted for the biggest debt increase in history should hang their head in shame. And they will lose their primary next year if it's the last thing I do on this earth. And guess who has to respond? A man named Donald Trump. Go to that one. Go to the tweet first, and then you'll play the video. Here's a tweet. Elon Musk knew long before he was so strongly endorsed me for president that I was strongly against the EV mandate. He's claiming that's what Elon is upset about. It is ridiculous and was always a major part of my campaign. Electric cars are fine, but not everyone should be forced to own one. He's right. Elon may get more subsidy than any human being in history by far, and without subsidies, Elon would probably have to close up shop and head back home to South Africa. No more rocket launches, satellites, or electric car production, and our country would have a fortune. Perhaps we should have Doge take a good, hard look at this big money to be saved. And then here's what he said this morning, and Vinny, I'm going to come to you, and Adam, I'm coming to you next.
Okay.
This morning, he's being asked the question about Elon Musk, and this is what he said. Go for it, Rob.
I don't know. I think we'll have to take a look. We might have to put Doge on Elon. You know what Doge is? Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible?
Oh, my
It's a lot of subsidies, Peter. But Elon's very upset that the EV mandate is going to be terminated. And you know what? When you look at it, not everybody wants an electric car. I don't want an electric car. I want to have maybe gasoline, maybe electric, maybe a hybrid, maybe someday a hydrogen. If you have a hydrogen car, it has one problem. It blows up, you know? So I'm going to give that one to Peter. I'm going to let Peter test it out.
Vinny, thoughts?
Okay. Could we be honest with each other? I mean, Elon is not wrong. Okay, let's just be completely honest. But besides the EV credits and all that stuff, I sent Rob this chart. And I want to know what you guys think about this. Look, like, regardless of who is in our office, look at that. National debt by year, PBD. Can you see that? And then, Rob, I sent you another one that's Statista. U.S. debt rises irrespective of who is in the White House. How can we not, like, I want to ask you guys, Pat, you guys, I did it in the PBD Podcast prep text. Every year, if you put the federal government in charge, somebody wrote, in the Sahara Desert, in 5 years, there'd be a shortage of sand. It's not stopping. and that chart that's going up, it keeps going up, it keeps going up. And then you have people that are doing the bills. I just saw this. That big, beautiful bill that everybody was talking about. How does this happen? Yesterday, in the Senate, they failed to remove illegal aliens from Medicaid because the parliamentarian changed the vote requirement to 60 votes instead of 51 last minute. Okay? So I'm genuinely curious.
Who is the parliamentarian?
I don't.
Do we have a name on that?
I forgot. I don't know his name.
That's a great catch, Vinny.
That's the guy, right, Tom?
They changed voting rules in the Senate to get. Sometimes you can get things done in our government by changing a voting rule because you have the power to change the rule regardless of what the number of seats for the Republicans, Democrats.
But we own the House and the Senate. So what is going on? Because I understand the feud and I get Elon's pissed and I get that rivalry right now. But at the same token, Tommy, we are going further and further and further in debt. We're giving money to, by the way, and I looked it up. You know how much money that is for Medicaid and all that stuff for the illegals? It's in the billions. It's in the billions and billions of dollars every year, and they're still fighting for illegals, and illegals won again.
I read it's almost $40,000 a year for 100 million Americans. That if you just said, okay, 100 million Americans on the entitlement programs, and you take that, I think Pat said 3.2 trillion. That's basically $40,000 a year. Basically, you're giving a salary to 1/3 of America.
Exactly.
Adam, your thoughts on this? Because I get what you're saying. You're saying every year we're getting more debt and all that other stuff. But the question then becomes, is that why he's upset? Is he upset because of that? Is that really what's causing him to get upset? Or is it because it's the mandates? What percentage is the mandates? Once think he saw that the mandates were not in there because the additional $7,500, whatever the $7,500 was, it's no longer in there. It's like, wait a minute, I campaigned for you $250 million, now that's not in there, and then now you're picking on how big the bill is? Would Musk have picked on the debt increasing if the $7,500 write-offs was in there? I don't know. That's the question you got to ask yourself.
Good point. Which I don't. He's being selfish in that in that context, but in the bigger picture, he's like, look how much money we're spending to get everybody to be on his side.
Everybody can always do that.
I'm with Pat, and I'll tell you why. There's something below the surface. Everybody looks at Tesla and they say, ha, ha, ha. People have more insurance on their Teslas because the insurance companies have put like a 15 to 20% premium on Teslas because of the risk of vandalism, right? So you have that's additional risk of loss.
Yes.
If you live in certain zip codes, you're at risk for that. So, Tesla owners have more insurance. Maybe they'll sell their cars. He's selling less cars. So let's just think of it that he has two air hoses, right? One air hose that's giving him profits through the air hose is his cars. The other is they've been working for 7 years to build the supercharger network. And 2 years ago, they went nuts trying to sign deals with every other car company. So if you bought an EV from Cadillac or an EOS from Mercedes-Benz, you were having in America a 60% chance of getting electricity into the car from Elon Musk when you went to service stations and recharge places. So guess what? When you pull the EV mandate, it's not just the Tesla cars. It's the rest of the auto industry is selling less EVs, and those EVs aren't plugging into all those electricity stations. That's his other air hose, because Tesla, below the surface, is really an energy distribution company long-term, more than it is a car company. And the EV mandate, it steps on both sides of that.
Adam, thoughts?
So there's so much to unpack here. I mean, what happens when an unstoppable force meets an unmovable object? That's Trump versus Elon. A couple quick points. Number one, PBD, you just did a video about the power of relationships. Possibly you called it your greatest investment you can ever make, right? Something to that effect?
Yep.
Okay. So relationships matter. You know, Pat, my sort of skill set is, all right, you guys should talk. All right, how you doing? Getting people together. That's a very important thing. Soft power, soft skills. Relationships matter. There's 3 types of relationships, in my opinion. Number one, there's lifelong friends, what I would call no matter what. Dude, I've known this guy for 30 years. No matter what, I have his back. Okay, cool. We understand that. Number 2 are sort of newer, valuable friends or business relationships. It's beneficial, there's shared values, there's money to be made, there's trust, there's a lot of congruence right there, right? Much like the people on this podcast. The third thing is a transactional relationship. And flip a coin which direction it could go. It could go north and you can make money, or it can go south and you can lose money, or it can be a little bit of both. In my opinion, this Trump and Elon relationship is number 3. It's very transactional. Trump needed Elon for a little bit of money, a little funding for the campaign. Elon needed Trump because he couldn't no longer endorse the Democrats, and he aligned himself with Trump, dark MAGA, everything that happened with that. But what we're seeing is the fallout of a relationship that's not actually natural. This is a transactional relationship, and it could go very ugly from here. Just when we thought it was going to get, the ugliness was behind us when Elon apologized, all of a sudden they're both willing to die on this big, beautiful Bill hill, and we'll see where it goes.
But guys, this isn't freaking a news flash. This isn't my forte, this lane, Tom. The numbers, this isn't me.
Math is not your forte.
No, Adam, 2 + 2, chicken. Listen, but from what I'm looking at, from the charts and the spending and all the stuff and all the Senate, Tom, we're going bankrupt, okay? And it's like you're talking about the numbers. Just look at the stats. Our Defense Department budget is $1 trillion a year. Interest payments on the national debt exceeds the Defense Department budget. I understand. It's just, what are we doing to try to change it? Yeah.
Can I just real quick?
Yeah, that's $1 trillion a year in interest, and it's going up every single year.
PBD, you ask the question all the time, what hill are you willing to die on? What hill are you willing to die on? For me, save that money. The whole debt and the deficit is a major, major factor for me. And I see what's going on here, and we're going to be saddled with debt for generation and generation and generation. So I'm totally with you on this, and I'd like to see how the sausage is made on this. But here's one thing I keep hearing anytime they talk about the big, beautiful bill or any bill. Tom, tell me if you hear this. I always hear these 2 words, dynamic scoring. No, you're not factoring in dynamic scoring. Well, what about the dynamic scoring? What happens if we have all this money, but you don't know what's going to happen? It's kind of like you guys were at the Yankees game this weekend. You ever been to a game in Colorado, baseball game in Colorado?
Yes,
Colorado Rockies. Yeah. Someone says, you go to, usually this guy hits, a couple home runs a year, but in Colorado, I mean, this guy's like a slugger of the year. He's an MVP candidate.
Mile high.
Because the Mile High Stadium, the ball travels further. You have the, wind at your back, that whole type of thing. Dynamic scoring, what they're basically saying is you have to factor in other factors that can lead for the economy growing, such as more revenue coming in, more people investing. So it's one of those things you never hear what the dynamic scoring actually brings to the table until it actually happens. Have you heard this term before? Dynamic scoring, Tom?
Yes, I have. And that's exactly what you're talking about. Like if Adam and I own a baseball team, Miami Marlins, and we want to sign a pitcher. And there's this pitcher who has like a 3.8 ERA. And Adam says, hey, Tom, remember, he was pitching last year in Colorado. So you really got to take like half. So, really? He's really like 3.2. Well, you know what? That's better than we thought. Yeah. And look at him. He was 3.1 away from Colorado when they were pitching on the road. And I would say, Adam, you're right. We need to look at dynamic scoring for this player if we're going to bring him to Miami, which is sea level and it's a little bit humid. He's actually going to do better down here, assuming he's the same player next year as this year. So the dynamic scoring, I agree with, because it also, that's kind of what I was talking about on the tax side, right? On the tax side, you can't just say, oh, it's a gift. It's not. It's a continuation of the tax cuts. So I kind of agree with Adam. I just wish the headlines were more honest about it.
Yeah.
And there is a place
Perfect
you could
example.
go.
The range of people that follow The Future Looks Bright, it's absolutely amazing. Seeing people in airports wearing Angry Patriot gear, Future Looks Bright gear, all over the place. Exciting times. And it's 4th of July, and we love America, and we love freedom. And if you do as well, you love the brand, Valuetainment, you love America, you believe in Future Looks Bright, this is a way for you to support your brands. This is why we don't take sponsorship money. We do it through the businesses that we run. And by the way, we are shameless capitalists. We don't hide it. We believe in capitalism. We believe this is the way to make the money so you don't have to go in, have to be loyal to somebody that's giving you money. Our loyalty is to you. We talk to you raw, open. And if you like it, you don't like it, great. You get to connect us and say, Pat, I disagree with you. I can't believe you said this. And if you agree, great. We talk about it as well. So this weekend, 4th of July, we have a blowout sale up to 60%. On top of that, we have the women's line that also came out. Rob, if you go to the website, there's a women's line as well that we have out there. If you go on the collection and you go to ladies collection, ladies, you asked for it. We now have some gear. Big influence of this is Jennifer David, who said, we need to get some ladies gear. Future looks bright. I will also give a shout out to Kim, because Kim's been telling me that she wears the short sleeves when she goes golfing. So thank Jen and Kim for a lot of this. So anybody that places an order over $400 of merch, myself, Vinny, and Tom will be FaceTiming you. And I swear to God, if anybody decides to return anything, Adam will be FaceTiming you.
Yes.
It's true.
He already volunteered
true.
for that. So we appreciate Adam's support for doing that. He's the best retention guy we have in the company. But $400 will be FaceTiming you guys to
Don't
talk
make
to
me
you.
come over to your house.
And he will, buddy. He will.
I will.
All right. Go to vtmerch.com. Place your order if you believe future looks bright. Get some of the gear. Sport it everywhere you go.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.